Glad to welcome one of my former teammates, great guy, Auburn legend, played running back there for Auburn, then went on, had a long NFL career. Of course, we're talking about Ronnie Brown to the show, who now is part of the Auburn Sports Radio Network down there on the sidelines. Ronnie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Always a pleasure to catch up with you. Of course, it's always a big game whenever Auburn and LSU meet. And let's go ahead and let's start at the best position there is, the running back position. Tank Bigsby, man, he has been something fun to watch. True freshman. Looks like Auburn has found their guy and their guy for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. When you look at him, he's a special talent. It's not too many guys that can come in this league and do what he's been able to do over the last few weeks, talking about an all-SEC schedule. And the more they put the ball in his hands, the more they trusted him, the better he's done on a weekly basis. And so he can do everything. That's the thing I like about him. He's willing to block. He's able to be involved in the passing game. He catches the ball really well. And just running the ball. He's a tough physical guy. He always breaks a lot of tackles, and he seems to fall forward. And so when you put all those things in, for me, barring any injuries, anything of that nature, I think he could be probably one of the best running backs to ever come through Auburn, just all around.
Ronnie, when I take a look at Auburn's offense, and obviously Tank Bigsby now is getting more touches, I think that's so crucial to make Bo Nix comfortable, because when you're able to turn around and hand it off to a guy like that, well, it sets everything else up, because we know that Bo Nix wants to get the ball to Seth Williams. He wants to get it to Schwartz. But if you're able to play action and do some of those things, you got to be able to run the football to do it. So can you expect more consistency from Auburn's offense now that they've kind of turned to Tank Bigsby and he's getting the ball 18 to 20 times a game?
I would think so, because, in this league, the biggest thing is balance and being able to, I think, keep defenses guessing. And so when you become one-dimensional, a lot of times in this league, it's hard to be successful. And so the better you are at running the football, which that's where the game's changed. Back when we probably was in college, I think the initial thing was we have to stop the run and make them throw the ball. Whereas now when you look at the game, it's they want to come out and try to throw the ball. And so, use that to be able to set up the run. And so the game's changed a little bit. But the big part is just being able to come out and be a balanced offense and being able to utilize or take advantage of what defenses are giving you. And so for Auburn, if they're able to do that and be consistent with the running game, I think that opens up things for, Seth Williams, Anthony Schwartz, all of the other guys, because there's a lot of talent, at the skill position for Auburn. It's just about, trying to be able to take what the defense is giving you. And with the younger quarterback, Bo's still learning, and he was a true freshman last year, but really not having a spring this year and really create that connectivity and rapport with those guys. I think it's still a learning period. And so being able to take that pressure off of him also helps.
Obviously, Seth Williams has been so fantastic this year, and Bo Nix really seems like they have a really good connection there. Schwartz is the guy that I'm a little bit confused with how Auburn uses him. We were talking about it earlier. When he's targeted, it's only an average of 5 yards in the air. They're trying to get the ball to him quickly, but are you surprised they're not trying to push the ball down the field, maybe get him behind the defensive backs through the air a little bit more?
A little bit, because when you look at him and you realize he's probably, if not the fastest, one of the fastest guys in the country, playing in that position. And so, or just across the field, period. And so, I think part of it is our team's trying to take that away because they respect the speed so much. And so they play off, and, Auburn's trying to take advantage of what they're being given and not forcing him to try to go down the field if they're not giving it to you. So I'm not sure. I haven't paid a lot of attention. I mean, I know in certain instances, he can run a hitch, 50 times a game because people do respect the speed of it. And so, or that he has. And so, I think at some point, though, you do have to kind of start, taking the top off the defense. And that's the thing, when you talk about a team across the state, Alabama, unfortunately, they lost Waddle, but, I think that was one of the big things. Like, they'll run the ball, they'll throw a couple crossing routes, and then they're going to attack you with the big one. And so being able to have that versatility always, makes it a lot easier on everyone.
Former Auburn running back and longtime NFL running back Ronnie Brown is our guest here on Hangin with Hester and Hanny. All right, I want to ask you about the identity of the offense as a whole. We've talked about different positions. Obviously, Chad Morris is calling the offense now, but it does seem like the last couple of weeks he has said, hey, we're going to have a point of emphasis to run the football. So how is that dynamic between Chad Morris and Gus Malzahn working out in your eyes?
I think it's still a learning period. And so for someone like Gus, who's been so offensive driven, I think for anyone, it's hard to just totally give up. I think all responsibility. And so Chad is someone that I think they have a great rapport. They have a good relationship. They've known each other for a few years, and so he trusts him. So I think there's a lot of input from Chad, but to say totally 100%, I'm not sure. I think, if I had to guess, it's probably 95%. But I think the two of them probably go back and forth on some things that they'd like to get done, and I think different perspectives offer help. But at the same time, I think as an offensive coordinator, you kind of have to have a feel for the game, and as just doing things as you see them come, makes it easier with the play calling. You start to get in the groove. It's nothing different than you and I playing running back, and the more carry, the more times we touch the ball, we got a little bit more comfortable with what the defense was doing and how they were playing certain things, and so we knew when we had the cutbacks and certain setup things, and so. I think that's still, unfortunately, a learning period in terms of that, and not having the spring and really knowing, so much about the guys. Like, okay, I'm going to put him in this position all the time because I know this is where he's comfortable, and that's where the communication has to be consistent.
All right, Ryan, I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit. We've been talking about it throughout the week. This series just always brings something crazy. It's always a close game. It's always something at the very end. There was burning barns in the 90s. There was an earthquake game in the 80s. When these two teams get together, it's just always madness. I remember my freshman year, we play at Auburn. The game ended 10-9, but if you'll remember, y'all missed the extra point to go up 10-9, but we got called for leaping or something that I never really heard again in my college career. So it's always nuts. Do you have one memory of your time playing against LSU that stands out?
I think it was that game, that 10-9 game, because I was playing the wing on the field goal team. And so when I look back, and I'm like, oh, my God, like we missed the field goal. And then to get the penalty, I'm like, well, did we jump? Or I didn't know what was going on. And so to get that call, and I think that was fairly new.
Yeah,
that rule.
Was that year,
and even
yeah.
now, I think they just kind of, move guys. You can't be over the snapper or something like that. But, yeah, I don't know. I was happy about the call at the time, though. I will say that.
Hey, wait, has a number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft ever been playing wing on the field goal?
Hey, man, they say the more you can do. And so for me, I just wanted to get on the field. And so even with that, I wasn't the starter. I had Cadillac in front of me. So, man, whatever I need to do to get on the field, I'm going to do it. If I got to play wing a little bit, if I can play personal protector on punt or, one of the guys tackle, I'm doing it because the goal is, to try to get to that next level.
All right, I'm finding out the difference in my former teammates because you say that, and I'm glad to hear you say something like that. But I can remember in San Diego when I got injured like one time after a play. Well, I had to come to the sideline and get checked, and Randy McMichael had to go in on extra point for me because I was a wing in San Diego, and I heard about that for about 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm glad to hear you have that mentality, Ronnie.
Yeah, man. Some guys just don't like it, and that's why I tell a lot of the young guys, I'm like, man, I've seen guys make careers out of, being able to be really good on special teams. You look at, what's the young man, Slayton in New England.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a perennial Pro Bowler every year, by his production in special teams. So it just depends on how you take it. Most guys get the – you look at what's the running back from Denver? My mind just went blank. Come on, help me out.
Lindsey? Philip Lindsey?
Hall of Famer.
Oh, Terrell Davis.
Terrell Davis.
Yeah.
You see him running down on kickoff. And
Yep.
so, hey, man, you just got to get in and, get your start somewhere and keep your foot in the door because, each year it's a grind. So, I mean, I'm with you. Whatever it needs for me to stay in here, let me stay in here.
All right, Ronnie, before we let you go, I've got to ask you, how weird is it for you to see Phillip Rivers in a different uniform?
It's different, man. Like, I think as fans, and then, former players too, like you've been in the locker room with somebody, they were kind of like the face of the team. To see them switch up, I mean, it happens every year, but each year it's still weird. You see Peyton Manning, leave Indianapolis. Like you see guys that have, played their whole career in places. It's hard to even get it. Just like they don't even look right, in that different uniform. And so Phillip, him being the face of San Diego, him being the leader of that franchise, him being, the person that everyone leans on, like, and a lot of people respect him and in the community, and just the type of person. It's just weird. And it's an adjustment period too. Like, for guys that have switched teams, there's an adjustment because you get so routine oriented that your routine's messed up. You don't know the community as much. Even the drive to the stadium, the preparation, like trying to pick up on the traffic. So there's a lot of things that's a little bit different that you have to kind of integrate into your comfort level. And so for me to see him up there, I'm like, it just doesn't look right. Like him not being in that same blue, and it's weird.
Ronnie, man, I can't thank you enough. Really appreciate your time here and great insight on Auburn football, and good luck on the call this weekend.
All right, man. Who we got quarterback for y'all this week?
TJ Finley going with the true freshman coming to the Plains. So, I can't make the trip this year, so take care of our guys.
Hey, man, they'll be taken care of. We try to treat everybody nice down here.
Ronnie, thanks, man. Truly appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
All right, have a good one.